Independent, you'll find styles that say all the right things.
I'm one of a kind.
Parade, shoes, style, inspiration.
Tonight, Monday, April 3rd, 2000.
How you feeling, Mr. Mayor?
Mayor Daley is released from the hospital this evening. The question now is, when will His Honor return to City Hall? We're live with the latest.
I'm Laura Jones. In the wake of the mayor's scare, many people are wondering if they too might be at risk for hypertension. The warning signs in Fox Family and Health.
I'm Nancy Pender. It's bad news for Microsoft, good news, the government says, for consumers. I'll have details on today's court ruling against the software giant.
I'm Alicia Acuna in Miami, where the battle over little Elian Gonzalez is coming down to the wire. Will he stay or will he go? I'll have the latest.
Those stories and more tonight on Fox News at 9.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Robin Robinson.
And I'm Walter Jacobson. And first on Fox News tonight, Mayor Daley is back home. He waved to reporters as he left the hospital this evening after being treated for chest pains and high blood pressure. He's getting a clean bill of health, but being told to take a break now before he heads back to work. Our Patrick Elwood is live outside City Hall right now with the latest.
Walter, doctors are recommending the mayor take at least a couple of days off now that he's been released from the hospital. In the words of his brother John, this episode is the medical wake-up call the mayor needed. How you feeling, Mr. Mayor? Mayor Daley wearing a smile and waving to reporters as he leaves Northwestern Hospital shortly before 6 o'clock this evening. After a day of tests, doctors report good news.
The mayor had a stress test this morning, and he passed it with flying colors. We followed that up with an angiogram, which shows no evidence of any coronary artery blockages.
Since being admitted to Northwestern on Saturday afternoon, flowers, cards, and calls have been pouring in, wishing the mayor a speedy recovery.
So those who want to object to me, stand up on the corner against the gangbangers.
After a morning of appearances that day, including an encounter with protesters,
you can appear every place that I appear.
The mayor returned home. Persistent chest pain prompted a call to 911 and an ambulance ride to the hospital. His blood pressure was sky high, 200 over 100. Normal range for a 57-year-old man is less than 140 over 90. And despite a family history of medical problems, including a heart attack that killed his father, the mayor hadn't had a physical in 10 years.
He respects the doctors, but just getting him to a doctor was very hard.
Brother John Daley, who himself had a similar experience about a month ago, says he thinks the mayor has learned a valuable lesson.
He's never said I'm scared, but I think it wakes you up. It did me.
In addition to the heart-related tests, the mayor got that long overdue physical. In an obvious sign that the situation is under control, Daley's personal physician, the same doctor who cared for the mayor's father, Richard J. Daley, took time to even joke around with the media.
And there wasn't a stone left unturned to make sure so that the press wouldn't aggravate us.
Are you worried?
And it didn't work.
So it is rest and relaxation for the mayor for at least the next couple of days. In the meantime, his chief of staff, Julia Stash, will be in charge. Reporting from outside City Hall, Patrick Elwood, Fox News, Chicago.
And Patrick, as you know, also some trouble for the mayor tonight. He faces new questions about an alleged sweetheart deal at O'Hare Airport involving one of his close friends. Oscar D'Angelo reportedly made $480,000 to set up a lease for the W.H. Smith bookstore at O'Hare. That lease is worth millions of dollars because it provides the bookstore with high-traffic locations at the airport. The Better Government Association is saying tonight the bookstore was pressured then by D'Angelo to contribute thousands of dollars to the mayor's favorite charities.
Smith played the game to keep the prize contract, which was worth, even in the early 1990s and late 1988s, $1 million a year in profit. It's now $39 million.
He also says the two friends of the mayor's wife, Maggie, were made partners in the deal to make it look like the contract was being given to a company run by women and minorities. The mayor has not yet responded to the report because of his illness.
A major business story tonight. A federal judge is throwing the book at Microsoft. The judge ruled Microsoft is a monopoly and that the company is using that power to crush its competition. The ruling sent stocks on the NASDAQ exchange crashing to their biggest one-day loss ever. Nancy Pender joins us now with more on what it all means to us.
Well, Robin, what it all means is that a lot of tech investors lost a lot of money today. Call it a tech wreck on Wall Street. By the end of the session, the Nasdaq had plummeted 349 points, or 17%. It was all in anticipation of today's federal ruling against the Microsoft Corporation, a decision that could eventually force the software giant into pieces. The verdict came down just after the financial markets closed today. In his ruling, a federal judge issued a stinging rebuke of the Microsoft Corporation, ruling it used technological shackles to stifle competition and innovation. The company's Windows operating system runs 95% of personal computers nationwide.
Thanks to this ruling, consumers who have been harmed can now look forward to benefits.
But today, many investors were hard-pressed to see any financial benefits. Microsoft's stock plunged more than 16 points today, taking the tech-heavy Nasdaq with it.
Very hectic. Margot is all over. Microsoft was down big.
When that stock catches a cold, everybody sneezes, and the sneezing effect pulled all these other stocks down today as Microsoft was falling.
But while the Nasdaq plunged some 349 points, the Dow soared as investors poured into financial stocks and retailers. The next step for Microsoft is what kind of punishment it'll receive. And that, according to legal experts, could lead to the breakup of the software giant. Microsoft Chairman Bill Gates has vowed to appeal.
This ruling turns on its head the reality that consumers know, that our software has helped make PCs more accessible and affordable to millions.
Whatever happens to Microsoft, there are those who now see it as an unabashed buying opportunity.
I think if they break up Microsoft, you still want to be a shareholder because you'll get pieces of all the broken off companies, just like when AT&T was forced to divest all those 7 little baby bells.
In fact, the stock was on the rebound in after-hours trading tonight. As for the lawsuit, don't expect any immediate changes in Microsoft products. An appeal will likely keep the case in court for several years. Walter and Robin, no quick resolution here.
Pretty complex. Thank you,
Oh, it
Nancy.
is. Thanks.
And there's a money story tonight involving Sammy Sosa. You may remember that he set up a charitable foundation in his native Dominican Republic. Well, now there is a report that that foundation has run into some very serious financial problems. Our Lilia Chacon joins us from the newsroom with that story. Well,
Walter, a year and a half ago, Hurricane George battered the Dominican Republic, even as Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire battled for the home run record. But tonight, it is Sosa's foundation that is taking a beating. A Fortune magazine investigation alleges that fraudulent practices have forced the charity to the brink of bankruptcy. Sammy Sosa knows how to slam a home run, but his charitable efforts have gone foul. That's according to a Fortune magazine investigation. It alleges that despite global response to the plight of hurricane-ravaged Dominicans, the foundation, based in the Dominican Republic, distributed less than $83,000 in relief supplies. Now foundation operations are at a standstill. Board members are alleging misuse of funds, and 7,000 pounds of food, clothing, and medical equipment have been sitting in a Miami warehouse since fall, generating $2,000 a month in storage charges. In fall of 1998, Hurricane George killed an estimated 300 Dominicans and left 100,000 of them homeless. Sosa had already set up his own foundation, and although he never made any significant contribution of cash, he did spearhead a drive to generate donations for hurricane relief. He arrived in the Dominican Republic to a hero's welcome and helped distribute supplies himself.
Now that I'm here in my country, I'm going personally to every people's houses that they lost their houses. I'm going over there and trying to take care of everybody.
In 1998, I visited Sosa's hometown of San Pedro Macorís and described how his donation of a building would help set up a medical facility.
He's planning on donating.
But Sosa ended up taking $1 million tax write-off on that building, and his sisters continue to operate businesses there without paying rent. Although Sosa has declined to comment while playing the Cubs season opener, his agent, Adam Katz, said, quote, "I'm going to go down to Miami and clean this thing up. I can virtually assure you there's been no impropriety." The irony is that Sosa's home run rival, Mark McGwire, donated $100,000, and according to Fortune magazine, that's more than the foundation's founder. Tonight, some critics are convinced that without a serious infusion of cash and leadership, the Sosa Foundation will strike out. Robin?
Thank you, Lilia. Chicago police are on the lookout for a man accused of sexually assaulting a 12-year-old girl. She tells police the man grabbed her as she was walking near 68th and Ada on the south side about 9 o'clock last night. The girl says he dragged her into a white van and took her about 8 blocks away to an abandoned building on Halsted Street where he raped her. She was treated at a nearby hospital and sent home. A Chicago Transit Authority security guard was attacked early today while on duty at an L platform on the north side. The 23-year-old woman was working at the Thorndale stop when she was robbed at gunpoint by 2 men. Police say the suspects took her money, jewelry, and her wallet and then fled on a northbound train. The guard was not injured. The suspects are still at large.
The Reverend Paul Jakes is leading a group of people to Washington tonight to talk with officials of the Justice Department about police brutality here in the city. The group boarded a bus for an overnight trip to the nation's capital. It includes relatives of LaTanya Haggerty and Robert Russ, 2 people shot to death in altercations with the Chicago police. The group wants the Justice Department to investigate those shootings and to hold police accountable when they shoot civilians.
We want our voices to be heard on high. Enough is enough. And it's time to say, stop now. We are Americans.
While the group meets in Washington, the Reverend Jesse Jackson will be here in Chicago, very busy. He's scheduled a rally and march in Chicago tomorrow to speak out against racial profiling, against police who target minorities.
It was a rough day for commuters on the Stevenson Expressway, even more than before, because traffic backups were long and frustrating as the I-55 construction project entered a new phase today. Workers closed 1 lane in each direction from Kedzie Avenue to the Des Plaines River. That means the 15-mile stretch between LaGrange Road and Canal Street is down to just 2 lanes in each direction. The repairs we were promised should be finished in October.
It's going to be a pretty chilly night tonight. Let's go to Steve Chilly for a first look at the weather.
Walter, mostly cloudy out there right now. It'll be mostly cloudy as we head into the overnight hours. We're talking wind chill this evening, folks. In fact, take a look at the information I've got for you. First of all, lows will drop to about 35 degrees, and with northwesterly winds to 25 miles per hour. Well, wind chills, get this. We're at April 3rd, 6 degrees above to 14 degrees above zero. So I guess there's the good news that it will be above zero in terms of a feel-like temperature, your wind chill. Down in the southern states, Georgia, Alabama, severe weather down there again this evening. We'll talk more about what's going on in the deep south, as well as the super outbreak of 1974. 148 tornadoes touched down on this day in 1974. More on that coming up in just a little while. Walter, Robin.
Thank you, Steve. There's been a major development tonight in the international tug-of-war over Elian Gonzalez.
Next on Fox News at 9, the State Department has cleared the way for Elian's father to come here to this country. We'll have the latest from Miami in a live report coming up.
And this wealthy Chicago area lawyer was front page news a few years ago when his wife was found murdered. His own children convinced the judge he was to blame, but he never spent a day in jail. Tonight, in a Fox News exclusive, our Larry Yellen tells you about a new twist in the case of Dean Olds.
Also tonight, the city of brotherly love hates some of its drivers. We'll tell you why Philadelphia is vowing to tow 1,000 cars a day.
And this candidate ain't nothing but a hound dog. Meet the Elvis impersonator who's running for office up in Wisconsin.
To Michigan. Rides the air in stillness as she soars. Call toll-free 1-888-78-GREAT for information. You may lose yourself in Michigan. Don't worry. We'll leave a lighthouse on for you.
Coming up, blamed for his wife's murder. His children wanted to strip him of everything, and they did. A Fox exclusive on Dean Olds when Fox News returns.
another reason to get voicemail from Ameritech. Order now and find out how to get up to 3 months free.
What are you doing?
Get your own Passat. Right now, get a great lease rate on a Passat GLS at your local Volkswagen dealer.
The international custody battle over Elian Gonzalez may be a step closer to being resolved. Tonight, the State Department has approved visas for Elian's father and several others to travel from Cuba to the United States. Alicia Acuna is live in Miami, joining us now with the very latest. Alicia.
Robin, U.S. government officials and Cuban diplomats now say that Elian Gonzalez's father may come to the United States as early as tomorrow. But if he does, it's likely he will go to Washington, D.C. instead of coming to Miami. According to sources at the U.S. Justice Department, Juan Miguel Gonzalez may come to Miami sometime in the future to get his son. But that doesn't mean Elian's Miami relatives are giving up their fight.
Definitely, tomorrow we'll know what decision we're going to take.
After talks broke off once again between the INS and lawyers for Elian's Miami relatives, Elian's great-uncle announced through a family spokesperson that no agreement has been met. Although the family says that Elian's father is welcome in their Little Havana home, they are not agreeing to hand over the boy. The mood of negotiations changed today as the Justice Department said that they are no longer discussing an agreement with Elian's great-uncle to sign a release agreement if he loses his current court appeal, but moved straight to the immediate transfer of Elian's care.
This is a complex issue.
The State Department confirmed it has recommended 6 visas be issued to Elian's father, stepmother, half-brother, cousin, kindergarten teacher, and a pediatrician to come to the United States. News that the father intends to come to this country superseded Tuesday's INS deadline on current negotiations between the Miami relatives and the INS. The talks now revolve around when and how Elian's father will see his son.
We have faith in the laws and in the government, and we hope that we can resolve this.
Y que siempre sea lo mejor para Elian González.
And that it will be to the benefit of Elian Gonzalez.
As people in Havana hit the streets to demand Elian be returned to his birthplace, here in Little Havana, protesters practiced a human chain they intend to use as a blockade if and when government officials attempt to take custody of the 6-year-old boy.
According to the INS, talks resume tomorrow at 10 a.m. to discuss the transfer of Elian's care to his father. Live in Miami, Alicia Acuna, Fox News. Walter.
Alicia, before you go, is there some anticipation on the side of authorities there that there may be some serious trouble tomorrow? How are they going to handle those crowds?
Walter, actually, I think a lot of the concern is the amount of determination that this crowd holds. The Cuban exile community has held vigil outside the home where Elian Gonzalez is staying day and night. Today they did a march around Little Havana, and some people here are vowing to lay down their lives to keep anyone from taking Elian Gonzalez away from here. Walter.
Okay, thank you. A Chicago man by the name of Walter Polovchek met with Elian over the weekend. Polovchek knows quite a bit about what Elian's going through right now. 20 years ago, Walter Polovchek defected to the U.S. when he refused to return to the Soviet Union with his parents. He says that sending